And if you want to be involved, I'm sure you can head to the office or find someone in the paddock that will be happily talk you through. You won't be thrown in the deep end. Most of the time you'll be working with an already experienced marshal who will take you through everything and all the little things that you need to know to be a good marshal, and most of the time you'll be paired with another marshal. So if you want to get involved and get closer to the action, speak to anyone here in the paddock and they'll be looking after you. And also you get free lunch, which is always something nice to have. I believe Alex will be up and running in a very few seconds.
That's right. I believe the live stream is on YouTube now, so hello to all those who are tuning in via YouTube. You're more than welcome. Hopefully we'll have some interesting running for you starting very shortly, and hopefully with our amazing tech team here. They've got some brilliant camera angles, and the whole hill climb pretty much is covered. So some really good action on YouTube as well as here in real life.
Yeah, you're right, Alex. If you want to follow up tomorrow, the racing tomorrow, then you can't make it to the hill. You can follow that on YouTube, so you can follow it from anywhere where you can get a good network. So maybe on your phone, or either on your desktop, or even on your smart TV. And the HillClimb TV is not just Loton Park, it's also most of the venues that you'll find here in the UK. Those guys are volunteers that come here most of the weekends to give us those great images. So you can also go back to the various videos as well that are available on that channel if you want to look back at some of the previous events as well. It's a great way to see what's up and running. They have been live streaming from Prescott, from Chesley Walsh, for Harewood. A lot of the HillClimb venues here in the UK have been covered. We get to see also a lot of different...
And they're covering right now the first car on track. This is car 914, who Ian Wadsworth, who's set off up the hill and is roaring his way up onto Cedar Straight as we speak.
Yes, Alex. Ian coming into Fallow now, using all the curbs, pushing really hard into that corner, into Museum. Looked like a really good run so far from what I can see.
Yeah, a brilliant addition on the live streaming is all of the timing and speed trap information, which really shows us a bit of what's going on.
Yeah, and did a 59.32.
Yeah, so a good run straight out the box there. We were seeing sort of around 1 minute runs previously from the Porsches. As we car to start off. The car 915 to Barber.
So the cars that you see next are double driven cars. So they are going to go up the hill, and they will be very soon after sent back for the second driver to jump in the cars. So the first driver is working at the tires for the second drivers, which is a great way of sharing the cost and also bringing a little of competition with your mate.
That's right, so we got the Porsche 996 GT3 of Tim Barber on the track at the moment. This car will come out again as car 215 with David Hilton behind the wheel, so those two are sharing it over the weekend. Brilliant little extra thing that you get in hill climbing where you can share a car with someone.
Yeah, the Porsche GT3 entering Museum. Great sound from this 6-cylinder engine. Looks like a very well developed car, and he's going through the finish line now.
And then 907 also on the hill climb as we speak. That's Simon Tussle in a Porsche Boxster X. Mostly road going car this. It's pretty much standard in its configuration for its tyres, which limit it rather, but you can still get a good turn of speed even out of a road going Porsche.
Yes, and this is a Thousand Son affair here, where those two are sharing the cars for now a couple of seasons and doing the Porsche Club GB Championship. So Simon did a 65.76. So the cars are going to go down the hill now, Alex. So you should see a few cars going down your way, and then the next car should be lining up on the start line.
That's right, that was just the shared drive cars getting their run so that they can now head back and swap over to the other driver for the main bulk of the Porsche GB running. And while they're drifting down the hill, I'll just say hello to a few people that have come up on YouTube, watching from all over the world. People from America and Brazil watching hill climbing from rural Britain, which I think is an amazing thing to be able to do.
Yes, Alex, it's great. It's the beauty of technology, really. So welcome to everyone on the live stream as well, wherever you are in the world. It's great to have you and follow us from Loton Park here. We'll try and follow you as well. I think there is the live chat, so we'll be very happy also to answer any of your questions as well that you may have.
So just looking there, we only had a few cars run, but Tim Barber with his 56.47 was a pretty good run up the hill. He was definitely in the fastest of those cars to make it out in that sort of precursor to the main Porsche GB running. But that's sort of the time that that sets a benchmark, I suppose, for the next group. We'll see who can do better than a 56-second run.
Yeah, very strong improvement compared to this morning runs, really, which was a little bit wet in parts of the track.
Now, while people are waiting for the next run of cars to go up, I'll just let them know that the bar has just opened. So if you think that the weather's nice enough and you're in for the afternoon, then maybe go and grab yourself a drink and find a nice place to watch the racing and have a lovely afternoon of motorsport ahead. Right, we now have the bulk of the Porsche GB group lining up. Paul Watson in his Boxster S will be first, car 200, and he'll set off momentarily and lead the crowd. Away he goes off line. So I've got Paul Watson coming down towards Triangle now, going reasonably quick, testing out the track limits a little bit as he squeals round up into Keepers. The track was damp earlier, it's now drying, but that will still leave it a bit slippy in places, and these guys have to figure out where the grip levels are, as they were running earlier in a rainstorm and now have sunshine to contend with.
Yeah, Paul Watson reaching at the speed of 73 miles an hour at the end of the straight is now entering fallow and going into Museum. Pushing quite hard, tyres squealing, using all the power of the engine on the exit.
Then we have car 201 of Jake Cartwright coming up in the multicoloured orangutan veterinary support sponsored car, a sort of charitable venture looking after animals. Car you can't really miss as he piles his way up towards you at the top.
Yeah, great livery from that car. Jake is going through Museum now, pushing really hard and using all the track on the exit of Museum there. Let's see what time can we get from that run. And that's a 67.45.
Not bad from Jake there, and Mark Morris in his road spec Porsche Boxster is on the hill now. See him going up the hill. Interesting when you can compare some of these times and speeds through the traps, just to see the difference between the road going and the modified vehicles.
Yeah, Mark Morris getting to the end of the straight now, using a little bit of the curb on the entry of fallow. Keeping it nice and tidy through Museum, using all the power on the exit, and that should be a decent run.
Yeah, then we have car 203, Howard Creasy in the big 4-litre Porsche Cayman. This is a bit of a beast, this machine. Will probably post a good speed up the hill Certainly through the speed traps, I'd have thought it would be one of the quickest as it gets to the not quite straight Cedar Straight.
Yeah, great sound from the 6-cylinder engine of that Cayman here. 4-litre engine, quite a big size for the size of this car relatively, and it's going through the finish line.
64 seconds there for the big Porsche, which is a good run. As Hannes Tanzer in his Porsche Cayman, slightly smaller engine but turbocharged as the next one up the hill.
Yeah, 4-cylinder flat 4 on this car. Pushing really hard, more confident than this morning really, and he's really pushing hard towards the finish line now.
Adrian Rowlands in his Porsche Boxster is really giving it some, pushing through the corners down low, aiming for a good time in his light and nimble little car.
Yeah, Hans did a 63.07, which is a really good time.
That's the quickest run so far, I think, in this group.
Yeah, let's see what Andrew can do. He looked really fast in this run, and I'm probably sure he's managed to do 60.06.
So that's a really good run. Adrian Rowlands up next, another Porsche Boxster. Keeping himself back up, just in case of the rain. Slightly more standard spec car this, so time's not quite so fast maybe as the Caymans.
Yeah, Ian reaching the speed of 65 an hour at the end of the straight here, keeping it nice and tidy through there. Using all the power of that engine through the finish line in a few seconds.
And we have car 208 next, which is Martin Leach in that classic 911. Brilliant looking car, this 911E. Really sort of classic shapes.
Yeah, great sound from that little Porsche. A little bit of a moment through museum, but gathered it together and going through the finish line. It should be a very quick run.
And we have an aborted run as car 209, the Porsche 944, pulls off and aborts a run, so maybe a problem there for that car. Unfortunately that won't make it up the hill just now, but with any luck they've been able to pull off down at Triangle, so we can get going again pretty quickly with the next car.
Alright, so a potential little bit of a delay in the in that run.
Oh yes, maybe slight red flag moment. I think someone's clearing up the track there. That might be why the Porsche 944 pulled off, so that hopefully he'll be able to go around and try again on that run.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the times and comparing the shared cars. You're looking at Ian and Simon Crystal in car 207 and 907, and Simon has the bragging right with a 65.76 so far, so almost 2 seconds quicker than Ian.
Now, some of that will be driver ability, and some might be down to conditions. The car won't be overly different between those runs, but the track surface can be, and certainly skill levels can vary greatly. We're still just clearing up, so the red flag's still out, just tidying up. I think there was some debris on the track. Once that's sorted, I think we'll get a wave flag to say that we're all clear, and then car 210 will be the next up the hill. That's Wayne Eason in a Porsche Boxster. Smart looking machine this, silver and orange. Off the line he goes, really shaking as he puts the power down. So way up the hill towards Hall Corner, then round to Loggerheads for Fletcher's Dello, which plunges down towards Triangle, where my commentary box is. In very hard, bit of a squeal of the towers as he exits. Nicely out of there, going up towards Keepers. Section which leads on to Cedar Straight, which, as you can see, really isn't straight at all. heading all the way up towards Fallow and best view at the top.
Yeah, Wayne managed a 67.9 in his previous run, so let's see what he can do in his run this afternoon. He's going into Museum, a little bit wide on the exit of Museum there, but pushing really hard for the finish line. Should be a better time with better track conditions.
Good time there as we see the Porsche 911 Carrera 3 litre of Geraint W. Evans. Nice classic silver looking car.
Yeah, very distinctive shape from car 211. A little bit of a moment exiting Museum, but all under control, and it's going through the finish line now.
Speaking of moments, car 212, that's Mel Spear, the brightly coloured Porsche Carrera Cup. Here he comes, and he was really pushing down through triangle, right on the edge of what was possible down in the tight little sections.
Yeah, made it to the top 3 in his previous run, Mel. Very good looking car, and he's going to go through the finish line in just a little under 61 seconds, 60.99, so great improvement from this morning. Relatively wet run.
Yeah, then we have Andy Fagan, another person who found the braking point in the triangle a bit awkward to find. I think the slippery track has caught a few out as they've come back on circuit, as they really push to try and get those timed runs. Remember, these are timed runs, these ones.
Indeed, Andy was very late at the end of the Cedar Straight, and is now exiting, going through the finish line, which will be a very competitive run, I would expect. A 60.1.
Nick Wadsworth's next is slightly more classic shaped 911 SC. Another classic looking car.
Yeah, there's great line through Fallow now, using all the track on the exit of Museum. In a 60.88.
So that 60-second and just a little bit mark seems to be quite standard. See who can dip below into the 59s as we see David Hilton on track. This is a quick car, so perhaps we could see a quick run. That machine pretty fast in the practices already today. Speed of 83 up the hill.
Yeah, great to see the GT3s on track today. Pretty special car. It's this 6-cylinder at the back, and you can hear the sound of this engine. A very well developed car. You can see the wing at the back, and that's going to be a pretty quick run, I would expect.
58, so well below the 1 minute mark, and a very good run, possibly the quickest of that Porsche group, I feel.
It is indeed, Alex. David, yeah, taking the for today. Just followed by Andy in his Porsche Box 2S in its 60.1, and looking at Wayne, actually it's going to be Adrian who's managed to post a 60.06.
We've then moved into a new group. We're in the road going series production up to 2 litres, and this is car 715 David Garnett in his Renault Clio Cup Sport.
Yeah, David posting a 64.11.
So a different class, but only a few seconds slower than the Porsches up the hill. As we move on to a hot hatch of a different generation, perhaps, Dave Wilson's Peugeot 205, car 718 next on track. Really throwing it round triangle, lots of squeal as he holds on, really pushing that little Peugeot for all it's worth.
Yeah, this class should almost be called a French class. It's almost only French little hot hatches. Yeah, Dave really hard on the brake at the exit of the Cedar Straits, using all the curb on the entry and pushing really hard into Museum. Great handling from that car.
Then we have Joy Hoyle in 738. That's a Caterham 7. Pretty ubiquitous speed machine. Wherever you go, you can see Caterhams in competition tend to be quite successful.
Yeah, Joy, using all the revs of the engine on that car and keeping it nice and tidy. And that's going to be a very quick run in a 60.11. So
I think that's the end of that batch.
You're right, Alex. I'm sending you the cars that we have seen, the Clio, the 205, and the Caterham with shared drives.
That's
so
right, yes.
Those 3 cars are heading down the hill now.
So those shared drive cars we'll see out again in a few moments' time in the next group of running with their other driver. Having had the Porsches there, I think that was a good selection from the Porsche GB Club. We'll then be on to the next groups, the road going series production cars and etc. We'll get to those groups properly once these machines have made their way back down the hill.
Yeah, indeed, Alex, the cars are heading down your way now. So the Porsche groups following through. So you get to enjoy the cars a little bit closer at touring space when they get to the bottom of the hill here. We've had a few people joining today and this afternoon. I can see a few more people here in front of me that have made it to the top of the hill. And I can see a few people also sitting to my right as well. So enjoying the view that we get here at the top of the hill. If you haven't made it to the top of the hill yet and you've just joined us this afternoon from the bottom of the hill where Alex is in his commentator booth, you can follow the track to the left and you'll get to the Cedar Straight and you'll be able to join me in at the end of the straight. So the end of the straight will be where you get to see the car at full speed. The quickest car today are probably going to reach speed in nearly 130 miles an hour. Most cars will be a little bit slower than this, but still relatively quick. And it's all down to the drivers and how they judge their braking points as well into the entry of fallow here. So a nice selection of Porsches and those little hot hatches giving us an idea of what's to come next. I thought that little Peugeot 205 was looking quite smart. It's great little machines. It just shows the variety that you can use when going hill climbing. We've got a whole, pretty much everything you can imagine here today. From those Porsches right the way through to the single-seaters that we'll have running a bit later on. Yeah, you're right. Those Peugeot 205s have been probably hill climbing and racing in rallies very competitively indeed since the start of the 80s. So I'm sure here a lot of people in the audience will remember this when the time those cars were new. I'm a little bit too young to remember them new, but I'm a fun enthusiast of those 205 and I'd love to have one in my garage. Usually in this class you get what you could call the successor of the 205s in the French hatches with the Clios as well. And those Clios are always very competitive on the hill with a great chassis and a big 2-litre engine at the front. That's right. I think the hot hatches are always exciting to watch as well as they lift up wheels and throw themselves around the corners at high speeds. It's always exciting to see all the different machines. Right, I think we may have cleared the track, so we'll be getting ready for our next batch of runners shortly. It's nice to see that I think the track is pretty much dry everywhere now by the look of it. I think we've recovered from the rain earlier, so we're now into a nice dry track again, although it was catching a few of those Porsche drivers out, I think, as they had to re-find their braking points. Now the track has dried out. Yeah, Alex, and there's quite a heavy wind here at the top of the hill, so it does help drying the track here. But there is also at the end of at the entry of museum, there's always a relatively shady part of the track that always consistently will potentially remain a little bit wet for a little bit more time than the rest of the corners that are not exposed to the sun. But from what I can see here, the track is pretty dry, so it should be excellent condition for those afternoon runs.
We've got the next run now with car 16. This is Robin Holden in a little Mazda MX-5. This is the series production cars up to 2 litres, and these cars can get pretty quick up the hill. Class record is down in the 57 seconds. We'll see whether we can get anywhere near that with what we've got running here today. But this little Mazda, like the hot hatches, it's the similar formula: small, light, nippy little engine. As it squeals its way through Triangle and out towards Keepers, pushing hard, climbs up onto the straight. It might not have the biggest engine, but if you've got the handling through the corners, you can make up a lot of time on this circuit, because it has a lot of technical twisty sections and not a whole lot of flat-out speed.
Yeah, Robin, a very competitive driver. Every time he's in Loton Park, and it's a great car, and it sounds magnificent going through museum now, and it's going to be a very good run, I think, from him.
And as we wait for that time, we see the next car on track is car 15, Ian Richards' Renault Clio, pushing its way up through to Cedars Straight.
Yeah, and Robin posted a 62.84, so a really good run for him.
Yeah, interesting to see that Mazda as quick as some of the Porsche Boxsters on its run up the hill.
Yeah, again, pushing the little Clio, always lifting a wheel on the entry of museum. It's off camber, so it's a little bit difficult for the car to take.
Then we have car 17, Simon Curtin's on track. Now this Lotus 6 Siege is probably going to be the fastest of this group, I would have thought. We'll see whether it can post times similar to some of the bigger Porsches and get under that 1 minute mark.
Yeah, the brightly coloured car going through fallow now and pushing really hard into museum. Looks really quick from the look of it, and he's got the top down, so didn't fear the rain. And that's a 59.89 for Simon.
Very good, as the Peugeot 205 is back on track. This time we've got Robert Wilson behind the wheel, really pushing again. I don't suppose you happen to remember the time that the second driver posted in this car, because it's an interesting comparison to make between the two entrants in the same vehicle.
Yeah, well, Dave posted a 60.52, so let's see what Robert can do. He's definitely trying really hard, tyres squealing, and he's using all the track on the exit of museum, using all the power of that engine through the finish line. Let's see what time he can do. That's a 59.59.
That's a really good time for that Peugeot. Now we have another Porsche. This isn't the Porsche GB group. This is we've gone up to series production cars over 2 litres. This Porsche 911 Carrera replica and Ross McDonald.
Yeah, the orange car, very nice looking. Porsche's up the hill now, using all the power in the exit of museum.
And then John Maycock in a Mazda MX-5. Now this car isn't over 2 litres, but the number 2 next to its engine size means turbocharged. And because of that, it's put into the higher class. So powerful little Mazda has the potential of making a really good run up the hill.
Yeah, John always a spectacular driver on the hill here, and he's going to post a cracking time, I think.
Yeah, that was a smart time for that Mazda, 57.28. As Simon Tarling in his Porsche 996 is hot on his heels.
John making it to 84 an hour at the end of the straight, and another GT3 today on the track. He's always very competitive as well. He's going to probably post a great time, and he's using all the track out of museum now.
As Simon crosses the line, we have second Simon. This is Simon Hutchinson's BMW M2 competition. Quite an amazing machine, this. Quite highly tuned and developed car. Still road legal, however.
Yeah, a lot of power on that car, and Simon is driving it like he's stolen it. He's always spinning his wheel at the end of the straight, which is amazing.
And then contender for best looking car of the event has to go to this Alfa Romeo 4C. We'll see whether it can also post a good time. Light, nimble chassis and peppy little Alfa Romeo engine. Theoretically, this should be able to compete with the Porsches and the Lotuses that we've already seen run so far.
Yeah, Rodney posted some very impressive time this morning already in his practice runs. Let's see if he can better it this afternoon. I'll give you a time in a 59.41.
Very good time.
Makes him second in class, just behind John in his MX-5.
And car 43 is Martin Rutter. Now this is down as it was meant to be a Fiat X19, however a substitution of vehicle means that we've now got a Jaguar XK120 instead. Much better looking car in my opinion, however I don't know whether it'll be any faster up the hill than the Fiat would be, but it's a glorious thing to watch.
Yeah, very spectacular car on the hill today, and a relatively modern cars as well. When you look at the engineering underneath, those cars has 4 disc brakes, and which is something that was pioneered on this car actually.
That's right, Jaguar winning them on with their racing technology that went into these road cars. Similar Subaru and Mitsubishi, as we have on track now, use rallying to develop their road machines. With Stephen Moore in his Mitsubishi Evo 6. Quite a powerful car, 4-wheel drive. This is we've gone up a category again into the all-wheel drive, any engine capacity. And these rally-bred machines, really fast things.
Yeah, James in his Subaru posted a 60.34, so let's see what the Mitsubishi can do. Certainly looks fast through the finish line, and that was 58.29.
It's a good run. As we see, first of a pair of Toyota Yaris's make their way onto track. These quite modern little hot hatches, really are quite hot things. And we'll see whether they can post some good times up the hill.
Yeah, the Japanese at their best here. Almost a bespoke car for rallying that they've developed in here in this little Toyota Yaris. It's not the one that you take to the shop and that your mum is driving. It's quite a bit more powerful. It's got a 3-cylinder engine, 1600 cc with a turbo on it.
Second Yaris, this is the circuit pack, which has handling upgrades and all sorts, so again should be pretty quick. These are pretty much straight out the showroom, and it shows what modern cars you can get. You can turn up and compete, put some good times in just with standard production machinery.
Yeah, indeed, and Ian posted a 63.72, so that's slightly slower than the previous Yaris, which was a 63.54. But now on track is the TTRS just in front of me, Alex, and that's a very good looking car. It's going to push really hard, a lot of power in this 5-cylinder engine car.
Another just sub 1 minute run there for the Audi, which is pretty good. As we watch this Mitsubishi Evo 5, a classic rally art style car, looking very cool with its black stripe down the side, really pushing as it goes through keepers and up onto Cedar Straight. Potentially this car could have a good run. It's got the power and the handling. And 81 through the speed trap is a good time.
Yeah, proper trick car, this Evo. It's 2.3 litres, so it's been stroked out, so a little bit more engine capacity than stock, and it's a really, really quick car. We'll see what time it can post. And that's a 58.33.
Yeah, really good run there as we look at Tim Higgins' Westfield, these little purpose-built sports cars based on the old Porsche and Lotus design. A whole variety of companies who make these, but they're all pretty similar in their concept. They're all brilliant fun to drive on circuits like this.
Yeah, great cars to watch on track. You can see all of the action in the steering wheel input of the drivers, and that's a really competitive car, always on the hill.
And we have a few of that style of machinery now in the specialist production vehicles they come under. Car 38 is Ray Law. It's in a Caterham equivalent. This is more closely matched to the Lotus design, perhaps. Westfield over the years more than Caterham have, but still Caterham will find their designs to be race-bred machinery that you can get on the road or take to the track.
Yeah, Ray always very competitive here on the hill. He's a driving instructor here actually. There's a drivers club here, so he knows all over the line in every corners of that track.
And that shows in that good 58.31 second run, so a pretty quick time there for the Caterham. As we shift to car 39, that's Sean Toms. Taking a bit too much speed through Triangle and then losing momentum as he tried to deal with that. Squeal of tyres, gathered it together, powering up through onto the straight. Although these cars don't necessarily have the biggest engine, they are some of the best handling machines you can get, and so they really can compete with the big boys. Although top speed was only 76 miles an hour, a lot of that lost time will now be made up as the car pushes its way through the curves.
Yeah, indeed, and the giveaway is in the name of that car, super light. It hasn't got much body on it, and as you can see, it shows in the time, it's a 59.95.
Last of this batch is Steve Garner in his Westfield. You can see this one, bodywork-wise, is slightly more developed. It's got a little bit of air on the front. Essence, it's the same as the other cars from this class underneath.
Yeah, very low to the ground there. It's Westfield. And he's going to try and push really hard into Museum. Let's see what time he can post. And that's a 57.42.
So really quick runs there from that class as we move on to production cars up to 1400 cc. With a little Ginetta G15. Tiny little cars these. Perhaps can't tell until you get up close to them, but there's almost nothing of this car. It's very, very basic, simple and small. Along those lines of the British sports cars of the 60s, but it makes it a great thing to drive.
Yeah, and Andrew is very regular on the hill here. It shows on the track. He'll be posting a very quick time. Remember, this is only a 1100cc car. That's a 61.72.
So despite the small engine, still a good run as we move up now. These are modified series production cars from 1400 to 2 litre, starting with car 49, that Renault Clio based machine.
Yes, indeed, and the modified production cars allow for a bit more freedom in the modification you can do to those cars, and you can see quite a lot of area a little bit on that car, and modified and sticky tyres as well, and that's usually a very quick run in that Clio.
That's being followed up the hill by Peugeot 205 of Mark Honey. Again, brilliant looking little car this. Those hot hatches looking really smart, having aged quite well, those designs. And again, although only a small engine, it's square sort of footprint means that it handles well through the corners.
Yeah, a very great looking car to have on track. You can see running smaller tyres at the back, smaller size, and very wide tyres at the front to get the grip from that front wheel drive.
And we have car 51 is that Mark 1 Renault Clio. A really smart looking car. This well prepared, beautifully turned out. It's nice to see people putting this much effort into their machinery. This car looks wonderful, and at 80 mile an hour in the speed trap, it's actually going pretty well as well.
Yeah, Michael always competitive in that Clio. He's using all the track in Museum, and he's going to go through the finish line in just above a minute. It's a 62.42.
We then make a little bit of a jump. We've got some single seaters coming through now. Richard Summers in that car 812 blasting his way up the hill, 101 through the speed traps.
Yeah, Richard already with me. He's exiting Museum, revving that engine bike all the way through the finish line in a 49.81.
certainly see the difference when you get from production cars to those purpose-built single-seater open-wheel races. The wings and slicks really make a difference on those times, dropping it well below that 1 minute mark.
Yeah, and Richard sharing the car is Lindsay, which we're going to go see up next in the next batch of cars. So yeah, I'm sending you the cars now, Alex, down the hill, so you'll get to see them in a very few minutes in front of you, and we'll get to see the next cars. I think we should also have a look at the times from the previous mod production cars, because we haven't gone through those times. And the leader on that class is Michael, who's posted a 60.42, so very impressive time in that little Clio, and that's followed by Roy, who posted a 64.46. And on the bottom step of the podium here, just 3 cars in that category, Mark Honey did a 65.85.
Yeah, some quick runs there from those machines. Certainly when you compare them to the Porsches, which were not dissimilar in their pace up the hill. Just shows you, just because you have a racing badge on the car, or a car that you may think is a thoroughbred, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that much quicker when put into competition.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Weight being the first enemy of performance, really affecting both acceleration, braking and handling, really. And that's why many of the Lotuses over the time have been so competitive and successful in racing, is that everything has been made to be as light as possible as well. Obviously, the Porsches have been very competitive at Le Mans and got a great racing history as well. And hopefully this weekend they'll perform well in the 24-hour of Le Mans. So I'm grateful for all the people today that have made it to the hill and decided to miss the start of the 24-hour of Le Mans, just across the channel, really.
Yes, and of course different motorsport disciplines require different technical specs, which is why some vehicles will perform so well here on a hill climb, but maybe wouldn't be competitive on a circuit or in other situations, which is why things like the Mitsubishi Evos or the Subarus were such good rally cars, but here on the hill climb there are other machines which will outclass them. Doesn't necessarily mean those cars are bad, it just means that in these particular situations certain technical specs really do help or hinder progress.
Yeah, you're right, Alex, and most of the HillClimb courses here in the UK are quite narrow and twisty, so they require great handling, and they favour handling over horsepower. But if you were to go on the continent, then in France or Italy or Spain or Portugal, a lot of the courses are much wider and a lot faster, and then they obviously will be a great thing for high horsepower car. But here in the UK, most of the track layout is mostly quite narrow and technical.
Certainly when you get to hill climbs like this, these roads are not very wide and some of the corners are very tight and off camber. It takes a lot of skill to get around here quickly. When you compare that to some of the airfield circuits like Silverstone, say, it's a completely different style of driving needed to be quick.
Yeah, and the hill climb is a one shot, really. Those guys go off the start line and it doesn't have a second chance to post a good time. So you have to be really good straight on it to post a good time. Here at Loton Park, you'll see a number of corners, especially Museum. It doesn't show up on camera if you're watching on YouTube, but the entry to Museum is very steep. You're actually looking up at the sky before entering that right-hander, so you can catch a few drivers on their first run if they haven't walked the hill.
Right, we've got the next batch lining up, which will be led off by car 52, Richard Jones in his very bright Porsche 911. Nice looking machine that, with a little ducktail spoiler on the back. Whole variety of Porsches here this weekend, as Richard fires himself off the line, leaving black lines from his tyres. Charged through Hall Corner, down towards Loggerheads, and dives round down through Fletcher's Dello towards Triangle. Nice smooth run this from Richard. Bit of a bog down as he leaves Triangle, tight corner that. Tail ever so slightly skidding around as he goes up through Keepers and up onto Cedars Straight. Get his foot in now, get a good time and speed through the speed trap. 77 miles an hour isn't bad, but it could be better as he heads his way towards you at the top there.
Yeah, Richard trying really hard in this modified series production car, just always 2 litre, and he's going through the finish line in a 60.18.
He's followed by another Porsche, much newer version though. This is car 55 of Peter Turnbull, Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. These are much bigger in size and in weight, but have a lot more power to compensate. And they're very sorted cars. Again, that racing Le Mans pedigree really helps develop these sorts of machines.
Yeah, a proper racing car that is, and very exciting to see on the hill today. Always a competitive car on that hill today.
And Carl Stevens' heavily modified Mark 1 Golf GTI really pushing his way up the hill. A little bit ragged as he's really leaning on those tyres, trying to get every ounce of speed out of that car. Not a standard car in the slightest, this, and 85 miles an hour up the hill really shows it's a quick little machine.
Yeah, I had a look at this car earlier in the paddock, and it's very impressive, and its lifting is in a Wilhelm museum, very impressive to watch. And that's a 59.49.
Really good run there for that Mark 1 Golf as Richard Price's Caterham hares its way up the hill. 97, almost 100 miles an hour there.
Yeah, Richard going through museum, using all the traction out of museum, going through the gears and through the finish line in a 59.49.
We then have a motorbiking Caterham, Andrew Griffith's car 61. That's got a higher booster engine in it. Huge amount of power from those new motorbike engines. It's a very light car, but quite powerful as well.
Yeah, Andrew almost losing it through museum, but it should be a very quick run. You can see he's pushing really hard, and that's a 52.86.
Next one is Ash Mason in Westfield. Again, similar to the Caterham. Same style, lightweight, decent amount of power, good handling.
Yeah, Ash using all of the curb on the entry of fallow, but keeping it nice and tidy through museum. Let's see what time he can post. And that's a 50.73, so that's the quickest time so far.
Very good run. However, we're now moving into the Sports Libre category. This is a pretty open book, allowing for specialist machines like this Malak Mach 20. A car designed to do pretty much what it's doing now, go quickly up hill climbs and round circuits, driven here by Robin Nicholson.
Yeah, Robin Nicholson, a regular of HillClimb, and he's been campaigning these cars for years. These cars have been specifically designed to, as you said, go up the hill very quickly.
Another car designed to go quickly is this Maguire Mini Cooper. Now, there's not a whole lot of real Mini left in this. It's been lightened, lowered, widened, everything you can think of to make it faster. And Derek Kessel really pushes this thing up the hill. He knows this place well, and the car is designed to do just what it's doing. Should be able to post a good time.
Yeah, 81 miles an hour at the end of the straight now. It looks very low to the ground, and as you can see, it's got that bulge on the front, a very impressive car, and it should be a quick run. And that's a 58.36.
A brilliant run there. Then we have Martin Watts' Sylvia Wright, an unusual car. It's not one you see very often. Again, sort of with the rule book this open, you can really end up with a whole variety of machinery.
Yeah, a 4-cylinder engine at the back of that car, almost a tubular chassis with 4 wheels on it, and you can see it's a very effective car on the hill. It should be a very quick run. And it's a 56.86.
On track, Graham Lopes' Lola. This is a brilliant machine, this absolutely amazing little car with a Porsche engine in the back. I think this is a fantastic little machine, really.
Yeah, Graham does all the work on these cars. He's been campaigning and racing for many years, and that should be a very good run at 55.62.
Next up is Rhys Jones's Van Diemen, quite an unusual car. I believe this is. There are not many of these floating around, so it's nice to see it running here. Similar to the Lola, it's got a slippery body and a little powerful engine behind, which gives it a good turn of speed.
Yeah, almost would look like a prototype made for Le Mans, but those cars are very competitive on the hill as well. That's a 58.36 for... sorry.
Yeah, and then we're moving into some of the single-seater open-wheel race cars. Richard Walker here, his OMS. Now these only have a small, up to about a litre engine, these cars, so not huge power, but they're small, light and aerodynamic.
Yeah, those cars are just above 300 kilo really, and obviously the power to weight ratio on those cars are very impressive, and it shows in the time it's a 53.68.
Next is Gavin McLaren, another OMS. These cars are literally only a litre engine, so not huge power, motorbike engines for the most part, but it gives high revs, plenty of torque, and because they don't weigh so very much, really lively handling and performance.
Yeah, Gavin taking a nice line through Museum, keeping it nice and tidy through there.
Car 77 is Mark Schlanker, his Force HC. Big wings on these cars, they will get some help from the aero on some sections of the track. The really slow corners, even those big wings won't be adding enough to make a difference. You still need that handling built into the chassis.
Yeah, the brightly coloured car now going through Museum. It looks like a very balanced car. It's going to use all the power through the finish line.
Those low 50-second runs seem to be what these cars are aiming for.
Yeah, indeed, and that was a 52.06 for Mark.
Smart looking machine. This is car 78 of Nigel Pitt, the OMS. Aerodynamically, this is very similar to things like Formula 3 cars that are out there being raced. So even though it's only doing sub 1 minute runs on hill climbs, there's still a lot of effort put into the engineering and designing of these cars.
Yeah, very competitive car on that run, and Nigel is always a very quick driver. And that's a 52.81.
Next we have a very, very smart machine, car 79. That's Clive Austin in his Empire Wraith. And I was looking at this car earlier. The aerodynamics on this machine with its wings, its diffuser, its underfloor sort of Venturi systems, it's a proper race car, this. And despite the fact it's only got a 1 litre engine, it should be a rocket ship up this hill.
Yeah, Clive losing it on the entry of Fallow. He's in the middle of the track, so he should be able to gather it, but you'll have probably a red flag. It looks like he's stolen the car. He reached the speed of 110 miles an hour at the end of that straight. So you might have a bit of a delay, but nothing, no damage to the car as far as I can see. So just a little bit, he's a bit frustrated with that run. It looks like he has restarted the car, so he'll be able to probably follow through and make his way around. But this is him done for today. So he's heading down the hill now, so Alex, you'll see that car
Yes, we've just got a replay on the live stream. He got such a good speed going up the straight, but missed his braking point. And just as he came into the corner up by you into fallow, just sort of spun it round on its own length almost. It looked like.
You're right. Yes, and yeah, you can see he was trying really hard, looking at the speed at the end of the straight, and yes, looks like Clive is going to be frustrated with that run.
Luckily for him, he's probably going to get another chance later. I've been informed that there will be another set of runs after we've gone through these cars. So we've got time for, everything's gone so well today that we've got time for another set of runs, which means hopefully he will manage to get that, Clive Austin will get that Empire Wraith out once more at the very least.
Yeah, Clive, having spoken to him earlier this morning in the paddock, looked quite tired. He was having a snooze at the back of his trailer, so trying to get his composure together for the day.
Luckily, these are just practice runs. The proper timed event is tomorrow, so all the mistakes can be got out of the way today, and maybe Clive now knows where to brake for that corner, and so tomorrow's run will be that little bit better. We, however, do have a few cars left in this batch. Rob Clark in car 80 is just lining up. He'll restart in a few moments the session once they're sure that the track is clear. And away he goes. Those watching on YouTube can see the timings on the bottom of the screen. That first one, 64 foot, that's the time it takes to get to that section. 2.15 seconds. Next we have the time to loggerheads, which was 13.5 seconds. As we come down past Lake and into Triangle, it shows speeds and times as we go through, up through Keepers to the next section. Almost 30 seconds to get to that and onto the Cedar Straight. Now this will end with the speed trap before heading into Museum, so 90 miles an hour there as he reaches the top of the hill.
Yeah, Rob keeping it nice and tight in the entry of the left-hander and going into Museum now. Using all of the rev of the engine and going through the finish line in a 53.18.
So that was a really good time there. Next we have Lindsay Summers, DJ Firehawk. Good run so far. Good break on the line. Good speed up the hill.
Yeah, Lindsay in a slightly higher capacity engine car, 2.6 litre, and going through the finish line in a 52.07.
Car 81 is now on track. That's Graham Williams. His high-tech. Now we are looking at the suspension arrangement on the front of this car. Very intricate, delicate design on this machine. Just shows the thought and engineering that goes in as he slides his way through Triangle, really pushing the car hard, trying to find edge of adhesion on those slick tyres. A bit slower though through that section, maybe because of the slight mistake in Triangle. He doesn't seem to be pushing quite so hard as he enters into Museum.
Yeah, Graham having a bit of a twitch with the car, keeping into Museum, almost sliding the car, but gathered it together. And that's a 61.76.
Luckily for Graham, he'll get more chances, and tomorrow is the time run. As we move on to some of the Formula Ford racing cars, here we see 786, that's Steve Morgan in his 1989 Van Diemen.
Yeah, you're right, Alex. And the cars that we're going to see next are going to be Formula Ford from the early 90s. So running a 1600cc engine at the back.
Oh dear, it seems Jamie Chalmers may have had a spin, which will result in a red flag now as they tidy up the track. I'll leave us with a bit of a pause.
Yeah, I believe, Alex, we'll see another few cars. So there's a couple of double-driven cars in that category of the Formula Ford racing cars prior to 1994. So those will be the last 2 cars in that batch, and after that they will send you back the cars.
Luckily Jamie's kept the engine running, so seems to be able to move the machine around, just sorting that out. While they're doing that, we can have a look back at some of the times from those runs. Lots of good sub 1 minute runs, and really impressive times for some of those cars.
Yeah, indeed, Alex. Mark, I think in his Force SG, his top running time here in that category with a 52.06, and that's followed by Nigel Pitt in his OMS 3000M in a 52.81.
Oh, don't forget Lindsay Summers, 52.07.
Yes, I believe as well, but Lindsay Summers is in a different class.
Oh yes, of course, yes, well spotted. And we have some of the times going up on our live stream.
So the conditions on the track are staying dry, still a little bit windy here at the top of the hill, but we've not been disturbed by the deers compared to last weekend, where they sort of interrupted for a bit of a time racing action, and we made sure that they're well out of the track. We want to race as safely as possible, but it's great to see a few more people now making up their way to the top of the hill to see the action here.
It's certainly worth the walk up to the top there, because you do get such a good view, not just of the track and the cars, but countryside in general. It's one of the more picturesque spots in British motorsport up there, and I think us commentators are spoiled, because being on the inside of the track in that little hut, I think we have one of the best views of all.
Yeah, I'm definitely spoiled here. And my recommendation, if you think that you're going to struggle up the hill, just get an ice cream and hit this up the hill. It'll give you a little bit more strength to make it up there. And you can sit here at the exit of museum as well. So a nice way to experience that.
Yeah. Take your time. You don't need to be posting good times as you walk up the path. However, we're back to running as Richard Weaver in the next Van Diemen Formula Ford is on track as we speak. These little cars are designed to be sort of an entry level into motorsport, to give people the idea of how a racing car should be, and so many top level drivers have started in Van Diemen's or Formula Ford of this style. So many big names in motorsport owe their careers to these sorts of cars.
Yeah, Richard's locking his wheels at the exit of the Cedar Straight, but gathered it into fallow and is now using all the power of that 1600. Probably posted a really competitive time there.
Now from that 1600 Van Diemen to a different breed of machine, this Reynard Formula 3 car has a 2-litre V8 bike engine and is a properly quick car.
Yeah, this is Terry and no, I believe this is Trisha.
Trisha at the moment.
Yes, this is her wife, and always competitive on the hill. And those two have been campaigning this car for many years. Terry is actually an engine builder, has built this V8.
Behind that is Bernard Keevel in his OMS, another fast machine.
Yeah, another very powerful car going through the line now. 49.95.
So you see these ones dropping now down into the below 50-second mark as we have car 815 Anthony Hunt in his Gould. Very smart looking car this, with that blue, white and gold livery, and very fast machine as well. 28 seconds to keep us at 93 miles an hour on the straight.
Yeah, those cars are running V8 Cosworth engine that you could find at the back of Formula Ones in the early 90s. Anthony posted at 49.75.
So some good quick runs there from some of those larger engined open wheelers at the end.
Yeah, and this is the end of this batch. Alex, I'm sending you the cars back over to you, so you'll get to enjoy those cars a little bit closer and a little bit slower. This Gold 55 is definitely a pick of the bunch for me. As you can see with the open back of the car, you can see the engine through the engine. Very, very special car.
Yeah, some really smart machines in that bunch that we just had. I do like the little Formula Fords. I think they are great little machines. But some of the bigger machines, I think, really impressive. That Reynard, the yellow Reynard with the bike-based V8, I think would take it for me. That's a really smart, well-engineered, and it's been well developed since it was a Formula 3 car almost 30 years ago. The fact that it's now still competitive all this time afterwards just shows how well it's been looked after and developed in that time.
Yeah, all credits to Terry, who's been the brain behind the engine. So it's literally 2 4-cylinders Yamaha R1's engines, so motorbike engines coupled together, and that produce a V8, and all you have to do is put a gearbox at the back of it, and you're up and running. And they make a really good competitive and relatively cost-efficient way of running those cars, really. Most of the engine motorbikes here will retain the factory and the original gearbox as well from the bikes, and so most of those cars that you'll see coming down the hill are chain-driven, actually. So they're chain-driven just like the motorbikes, and they make them quite cheap to run, or at least relatively to the more powerful car that we'll see on the next batch.
Yes, it's really interesting to see these cars being chain-driven, whereas chain-driven cars was a thing from the sort of the 1930s when they were doing speed machines and racing around Brooklands. It's interesting now to see it sort of come fully round and back again to chain-driven once more into sort of top-end machinery here at Loton Park. So most of these cars are now making their way past me back down to the paddock, which means we'll have a few more minutes before the next batch will take to the hill. Just remind people here that if you are enjoying watching this on YouTube, do subscribe to the HillClimb.TV channel to get other videos and live streaming in the future, and maybe if you're able, come along sometime to Loton Park. Spectators here are most welcome. It is one of the best looking racing facilities in the country. It's a beautiful place to be, the Deer Park, and even better when it's got some of this top end racing machine herring through it at high speeds as well. Alright, so the next car to come up the hill will be car 84. Carol Nicholas, yellow Nike Mark IV, sets off from the line. Pushing away round through Hall and Loggerheads down towards the Triangle now. These older style cars obviously still hand shift gearboxes and technology that means you have to properly drive the car. No traction control available on this sort of machinery. You've really got to be with your skill driving this machine as best you can, so there won't be any safety net to help you out.
Yes, and Carol is going through fallow now, and driving those cars as fast as possibly is what makes them fast on any track, really. So Carol is going to go through the finish line in a 69.96, so just under 70 seconds.
Now, these machines are a bit older in technology and design, and so that slightly slower speed is expected. It's still a good run up the hill, however. As we see those bucks in a similar age Formula Ford. 1600 engine in this.
Yeah, and less posted a 60.725, so
it's a very good run.
Many of those cars, the owners will have those cars from, own those cars from many years, probably love them as well. So always a bit of nostalgia in this class of cars from sometimes older drivers that have been racing them when they were younger.
Tom Morgan now in his Van Diemen, his classic Formula Fords. I was saying earlier, the foundation of a lot of motorsport careers. Quite skinny little tyres, usually quite hard rubber as well. As Tom finds out as he squeals his brakes into triangle, it means that you really learn car control in these. You understand how to control slides and correct mistakes. So it gives a brilliant foundation to people who want to learn about racing. And although the speeds aren't always that high, they're brilliant little racing cars all the same.
Yeah, Tom reaching the speed of 70 miles an hour, which is quite impressive for the capacity of this engine. Shows that weight is everything here, and it will give you a time of 60.36.
So not a bad run there as Alex Coles in his Van Diemen, his next car on track. Nice and neat and tidy up through keepers onto Cedar Straight. Sometimes being tidy and precise is actually the best way to get speed, and a good 8 to 7 miles an hour on the straight.
Yeah, Alex gathered it very late on the brake at the end of the straight, and keeping it nice and tidy through museum, pushing really hard. Let's see if he can better his time from this morning. And that's a 57.98.
Yeah, really good run there. Slightly newer Van Diemen now. This smart red with white stripes car for Tom Weaver. He's had a good run so far, and again keeping it quite neat and tidy as he goes up through keepers. This is the part where the smaller engine lets them down as they have to push their way up the hill. It's still 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, Tom pushing really hard now. It should be a pretty competitive time. Let's see if he can better Alex. Yes, indeed, it is a 57.42.
And we should see time start to tumble as Gary Hill leads on some of the bigger single-seater machines. This with the wings, slick tyres, slightly more powerful engines, this OMS. And this should start to see the times drop again.
Yeah, different category, those cars. That bright orange car running a 1440 engine. And that's a 50.23 for Gary.
A really good run there. As we move on to John Stockley's Force. So we're now in the, this is the racer cars for 1100 to 1600 cc. And these are proper racing chassis. They have aerodynamics and slick tyres, which make them very grippy. And even though their engines aren't as big as some, they get to use all that power because the car weighs almost nothing.
Yeah, you're right, Alex, and you definitely see it on the track. That open back car, you can see the input of the driver. 51.27 for John.
So car 96 there, Darren Gumbley really pushing into triangle. Really fighting the car as he goes on the straight. I think this one will be a quick run. We'll see if any of this group can get below that 50-second mark. 134 on the top of the straight.
Yeah, Darren pushing really hard. And posting a 46.72.
A brilliant time there as car 100. This is the Pilbeam MP88 with Michael Tregoning. Again, another very fast car, this one, as it powers its way up onto the straight already. We're now in racing cars of 1600 to 2 litre.
Yeah, Michael taking a steady approach into Fano, but using all the power on the exit of Museum. Let's see what time he can post. It's a 52.18 for Michael.
We have car 101, Terry Davis this time in the yellow Reynard. Chatting to them earlier. Terry was the slightly quicker of the shared car in general. See what time he can post.
Yeah, Terry reaching the speed of 80 miles an hour, so taking a steady entry to Fallow, which is a really quick corner, and then using all the power of the engine through the finish line in a 52.61.
Turban Elmers to Lara, car 102, that's this smart blue looking machine. Powering his way through. He's done a good first half of this run up onto the straight, getting 85 miles an hour as he hits the speed trap.
Yeah, Terry, team going a little bit wide on the entry of Fallow, but gathered it. Very impressive, very low to the ground. That should be a quick run. 51.01.
It's interesting to note how some of those bigger engine cars are actually posting slower times than the previous class, the power to weight ratio being so important on a hill climb such as this. Car 104 here, this is Jonathan Varley in this GWR Predator. 2-litre engine has lots of power, but it is a bit heavier, so some of those 1600 machines are able to compete. However, this car, 121 on the speed trap.
Yeah, definitely one of my favourite cars in the paddock today. You can see it's a very narrow car, a very special car, and it's a 46.69, so a really good run from John.
Now, car 106, that's Kelvin Broad. His force is supercharged, which means we've moved up into another category, which is why this machine should be even quicker, powering its way triangle up into keepers with a roar. Really quick first section of the run. Really a good high speed as he cuts the corner going on through the straight.
Yeah, 106 miles an hour at the end of the straight here, and Calvin pushing really hard. And that's a 48.16.
Very good run as Simon Moyes Gould, this very smart looking machine, powers its way past. Now this is running some interesting fuel which will give it even more horsepower.
Yeah, you're right, Alex. I'll give you a bit of an explanation on that after that run, because it's so exciting to watch those cars. And that's a 47.90. So almost 2/10 quicker than Calvin in his force.
This is Ian Tucker in his OMS. Now a lot of these chassis are from other series, things like the Reynard used to be a Formula 3 car, whereas some of these cars have been purpose-built and designed just for hill climbing. A lot of engineering going into these machines as we get higher up in the open wheel categories.
Yeah, now reaching the speed of 91 miles an hour. Nazo is now exiting Museum and going through the finish line in 54.52.
Here we have a car painted in the scheme of the old Jaguar Formula 1 team. This is car 113. I don't have much information on this car. I'm not sure what the chassis is. I think the driver is.
Yeah, this car is running a Jaguar V6, almost from taken out of a standard production car. A very competitive car here on the hills, as opposed to 5506.
That explains the Jaguar paint scheme then. That it's probably possibly that Ford-based V6 engine that Jaguar used in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And apparently Jaguar were running a slightly different specification, which makes them a very good racing engine to throw at the back of those single-seaters.
So that means we have moved into racing cars over 2 litres here with car 114 Simon Andrews OMS chassis. Slightly physically bigger machines, which means you can fit slightly bigger engines into them. And a variety of engine sizes, 2.5 to 3 litres. Give them a bit more push up the hill. 104 miles an hour in the speed trap.
Yeah, Simon already with me and taking a nice and tidy line through Museum there. Let's see what time he can post. That's a 58.14.
He's followed up by Terry Graves in that very smart looking green. I think the paint scheme on this is brilliant with the blue, white and the gold striping. And what's more, it's a very Porsche.
Yeah, very impressive car there. They scored 55. As you can see, he'll be using all of the power. A very quick car on the straight.
These sort of 50-second laps that we were getting from those cars is maybe not as fast as the class would allow. So some of them maybe not pushing so hard because this is practice, or maybe conditions not being quite as good as they would hope.
Yeah, today's our practice run, so these guys will be leaving the last stands for tomorrow, really. And it's fair to say that you'll see some really exciting cars now going down the hill. You'll see if you're today on the track, you'll notice some cars are running a very distinctive bright orange stickers on them. This is to indicate that those cars are not running standard fuel. They're running what we call methanol. Methanol just gives them more power, bigger explosions, and they need to have this information so that the marshals on track can deal with it in a different approach, obviously, because it will burn a lot faster than the standard fuel that you'd be running in your car, really.
That's right. However, it does give the car that little bit extra power. It's not quite as simple as just filling up with a different fuel, though. You need to make sure the engine is able to cope with the temperatures and the changes that come about when you start putting more higher octane and bigger explosions in those cylinders.
Yes, you're right, and many of those cars usually needs pre-warmers. So if you go ahead to the paddock, you might see on some cars they'll be pumping hot fluids into the engine before running them, and that's a big challenge in hill climbing in general. Is that it's very hard to get all of the engine up to temperature, but those engines are so highly strung that they need to be warmed up before going up the hill.
And that's certainly the case with some of the biggest single-seaters as well. Things like oil and even the coolants have to be at the right temperatures for the engine to operate at peak efficiency. So sometimes the preparation of these cars before the run is as important as anything else. No longer allowed to run tyre warmers or anything of that nature, but certainly getting the car in as close to its perfect operating temperatures as possible is going to help you as you push for those higher speeds.
Yes, you're right, Alex. And if you're today at Loton Park, you can head to the start line, and you'll see those cars will usually have a spare battery on the side of them, because they have very, very tiny batteries to start the cars. So they use a little bit of a small trolley with a battery on it, and they'll plug the car and use that to start the car up before the start line.
So in those last batches, we did have some pretty quick runs, dropping down into the mid 40-second sections. Quite a few getting sort of below 50 seconds on their runs, but not the fastest times we're likely to see here, but certainly some very quick runs up the hill there.
Yes, I believe so far today John has posted the quickest time of the bunch in a 46.69, and I think that's closely followed by Darren in his Force TA in a 46.72.
Yeah, Jonathan Varley getting up to 121 miles an hour in the speed trap, and Darren Gumbley 134. So some pretty quick times, considering how short and unstraight the straight is. Being able to get to 134 there is pretty good going.
Yeah, you're right, Alex, and it all depends on how the drivers will their braking point at the end of the straight. Some will judge it slightly earlier than where the speed beam will be, so where the speed will be captured. And therefore, we tend to see some big differences between drivers in the same class. Some will be lifting a little bit earlier, and some will be daring to keep it to the last moment.
Right, on track now we have Martin Jones in his Brabham B221C, car 118. Unfortunately, he's the only one of his class for racing cars manufactured between 72 and 85. So he's guaranteed a nice successful weekend, probably going to be fastest in his class, only in his class also. But it's nice because he can still compete against his own times up the hill. Doesn't actually need other competitors to have a competitive weekend.
Yeah, very beautiful Brabham running a twin cam 1600 Lotus engine at the back, and it's a very great sound to hear from that car. And that's a 58.63 for...
Well, it's a pretty good run for such an old machine. As we see Dave Newell in his Austin A40. Now I'm quite keen on classic touring cars, and so seeing this machine I'm quite keen on it. It isn't going to be the fastest up the hill today, or probably any day, but it's still entertaining to drive, and as you said, you're competing against your own time, so it doesn't need to necessarily beat everybody. However, showing its 50 mile an hour speed trap sort of indicates what sort of time this comes.
Yes, and regardless of the car, you still have to get up to the top of the hill, and Dave is very consistent in that very elegant Austin, and let's see what time we can do. That's 83.14, which is still quicker than his last run from this morning.
And then we go to the complete opposite end of the scale as Mark Coley comes out in his Gould GR55. And whereas the Austin may well have taken a good sort of chunk to get up the hill, this Gould probably will be doing it in well below a minute. Already see less than 30 seconds into keepers, heads on to the receiver straight, and almost twice the speed through the speed trap.
Yes, some very impressive splits already from Mark, and he's going into museum like a tiger, and it goes through the finish line in a 51.93.
Then we move back down again to the more elegant end of the stable with this lovely old Alfa Romeo driven by Michael Crutchley. Michael was telling us earlier that although this car technically is a 1300, it is in fact a 1600 engine that's in there, and he put the bigger engine that had been snuck into this machine as the reason it had succeeded in its past life as a rally car.
Yeah, and also a very elegant car on the hill today. Michael was saying that yes, he was indeed had a really good racing history as well, rallying. So yeah, a very elegant car on the hill and a great sound from the twin cam.
Then we move bang up to date with this brilliant bright yellow Vauxhall Corsa, the George Williams little Corsa that he's using to learn about racing. I mean, he's only young, but getting out on track, figuring out how to go quickly up hills and develop the car a little bit along the way.
Yeah, George is one of the part of the young drivers club here at Loton, and as you can see, it's a 1.2 Vauxhall Corsa, but he's using all the power of that engine to go through the top of the hill. Let's see what time he can post. Yeah, that's a really good time, a 73.34.
Yeah, good time for George, followed up by Andrew Feekins in a Renault Clio Sport.
Yeah, the standard Clio here, going through museum. Let's see what time we can post. That's a 70.31 for Andre.
And then staying with the Clio theme, but a slightly different machine. This one's highly modified, lighter, more power, well developed by Carl Beamond. This Clio is not your standard car, however technically it's still road legal.
Yeah, this car probably tipping just a little above 800 kilos, so making it a very quick car on the hill here. And it'll show on the time, it'll be 61.63.
Sticking with the hot hatch theme, where we're back to this Peugeot 205 again, looking brilliant as it pushes its way through the corners, lifting wheels as it really struggles for grip, going quickly, well, as quickly as it can, getting a good speed up the hill.
Yeah, Dave pushing always really hard in that Peugeot 205, looking magnificent on that hill. And a very quick car. That's a 61.24, so slightly...
That's a very good time, just missing out on being sub 1 minute in that old Peugeot. As we move on to Joy Hoyle's Caterham 7 Super Sprint, car 738.
Yeah, the Caterham's a very competitive car on the hill climbs, and he's using all the track on here, keeping it very smooth. And that's a 59.58, so sub 60.
That's a good time up the hill as we go back to more Renault Clios, 715 of David Garnett. Slightly modified this car, you can tell it's got the roll cage in and a few bits and pieces to improve it. We've had a whole range of Clio designs through the years, just showing how consistently competitive these cars have been in racing throughout their life.
Yeah, David using all the track on the exit of Fallow here, really good lines through museum as well, tucking the inside in and using all the power of the engine through the finish line. Posting at 65.89, sorry.
Really impressed with some of the times from that last group there, getting close to that 1 minute mark several times.
Yeah, indeed, and I believe we'll be sending some cars down the hill, as a number of those cars are double driven, and you'll see the cars coming to you, Alex, in a few seconds.
So a mixture of times, David Garnett with his 65-second run, and Dave Wilson with that 61.24. He'll be disappointed not to have managed to just dip below the 1 minute, I suspect, there. But some really nice times, and then Joy Hoyle, that was the Caterham, just showing how the lightweight and low centre of gravity helps those cars just a little bit over things like the hot hatch tin tops.
Yeah, some really exciting cars today on the hill, and if you were looking to come back after this weekend, tomorrow will be racing day, so where everything counts really. So competition will start probably from 9 a.m. up until 4 or 5 throughout the day tomorrow, and then I thought I would give you the next coming weekends at the Loton Park here. The 9th to the 10th of July, you'll get the Club HillClimbs. So many clubs being invited to the hill to compete. So you'll get a lot of diversity from the cars on track. This will be followed by another round of the Club HillClimbs on the 6th and 7th of August, so right in the middle of summer. And this will be followed by the 27th and 28th of August. So this will be the last weekends for the Club HillClimbs. And then at the start of September, the 10th to the 11th of September, will be the Vintage Sport Car Club HillClimbs. A lot of diversity in that group. Those will be mostly pre-war cars, so things that you'll not see every day on the roads. And I urge you to come, because it's a great seeing those cars that have been kept and running for most of those cars for almost a century. So if you can make it to the hill on this second weekend of September, you'll get to see this and a lot of history as well to enjoy as well. And then the very last weekend of the racing season of this 2022 season will be the 24th and 25th of September, where we'll be welcoming the last round of the British HillClimb Championship. So this will be the national championship as well, and this will be the last run. So a lot at stake in this weekend at Loton Park.
And don't forget, a lot of those will be streamed on HillClimb.TV on YouTube, and you can sort of keep on track with the social media for the venue, Loton Park, on Facebook and all that sort of thing, to make sure you keep in touch. And if you can make it along, it's brilliant, because you get to see things like we have now. Robin Holden has started off the next batch in his Mazda MX-5, powering his way through Triangle, really giving it some as he heads up past keepers onto Cedars Straight, already getting some good split times for his little Mazda as he goes up the hill, up into Museum.
Yeah, Robin using all the power of that engine, a very well developed car, and as you can see, great handling on those Roadsters and MX-5. And he's going to go through the finish line now in a 64.14.
Then we have the Lotus Exige of Simon Curtin again. This machine, really, these Lotuses so well designed and developed by Lotus. These later generations are based on that Elise chassis. Really excellent little machines.
Yeah, always impressive cars on track. And as I speak, Simon just in front of me has lost the back end of the car, but he's gathered it, and he's now going to head to the finish. So you should have a replay on the live stream, I would expect, of that one. He was just losing it into Museum. No drama, no damage to the car, but will be frustrated with this run.
Yeah, well, today's the day to do it. You've got extra practice runs today. Get your braking points and your adhesion limits sorted now, so your timed runs tomorrow can be as good as they can. And although disappointed to maybe mess up on that run, I'm sure he'll give information for tomorrow and a much better run then.
Yeah, last run of the day for Simon, so he probably was trying to better his time, although he has been very competitive in that class in the 59.89 in his previous run.
So we've got lining up, about to hit the hill, car 15. That's the Renault Clio of Ian Richards. Just waiting for the all clear from all of the marshals to make sure that everybody's happy. Although it was only a spin, would have pulled a bit of dirt onto the track perhaps, and we don't want to risk anybody having to encounter something they weren't expecting. I think we're all ready now to return, so Ian Richards will set off in a moment. Those on live stream, you can get to watch the start. Keep an eye on those early split times, the 64-foot marker and into loggerheads. So 2.64 seconds as he gets off the line. That's a good start for this little hot hatch. To loggerheads. 16.66 seconds there. Diving round, down a little dip towards the triangle. That's what catches people out, is that momentum going downhill, but nice and tidy through triangle for Ian. As he moves down towards keepers, now we're climbing back up again. Tricky corners that lead onto Cedar Straight, so getting a good exit from here is so important to make sure you keep up momentum and get that best high speed before braking heavily towards the fallow corner.
Yeah, Ian very late on the brake on the entry of fallow, pushing really hard on his last run today, and he's using all the power of the engine to go through the finish line in a 63.85, a very good run.
Now Ross McDonald seems to have aborted this run. Not 100% sure why at the moment, but pulled off the circuit down. There's like an escape road down here at Triangle that leads back towards the paddock. So if anything's amiss on the first little section, can just abort the run without any problems. So Ross McDonald has pulled off, which means that Robert Wilson in Peugeot 205, who had to do that a moment ago when there was a red flag, now gets a second chance at a run up the hill. That'll be a quick check, make sure all of the marshals are happy for things to go ahead before he leaves the line. Great pictures of the start line there. It's brilliant to be able to see them as they get going, as well as through the track, although that you can get some good vantage points here. There are a few bits that are hidden behind trees or hills, so that footage on YouTube really helps see the whole circuit as it gets going. Really pushing up through loggerheads, down the hill towards Triangle. Squeal of tyres as they protest the corner, but hang on just enough. Up through keepers. It's all looking pretty neat for the little Peugeot. Foot flat to the floor now. Negotiating the turns on the straight.
Yeah, Rob fastest of his class in the previous run, so let's see what he can do in this run. Certainly looks really good so far as he's using all the power of the engine and going through the finish line. And I'll give you a time of 59.63, almost as equal of his previous run, which was a 59.59. So a very consistent runs here.
John Maycock really pushing, has had a few wobbly moments in that turbocharged Mazda. Really aiming for a high speed, but possibly a bit too ragged to set the fastest time possible.
Yeah, John pushing really hard in this car, and he's going to be a 57.97, just under 58 seconds.
Very good time for that little Mazda, as Simon Tarling's Porsche 996 follows up the hill. Slightly smoother run this, and maybe the extra power from that engine will make the difference over the little Mazda.
Yeah, Simon going slightly wide at the exit of fallow, but gathered it into Museum and is now going to use all of the power to go through the finish line. And that's a 61.12.
So the little Mazda, despite being slightly ragged, was quicker. as we have the big BMW M2. Very well engineered, this car.
Yeah, a lot of power on that BMW, and it's going to be a really quick time, 58.74, so almost 1.3 seconds quicker than his previous run.
Very good run there, as the Alpha 4C pushing up the hill. Now this is quite similar in concept to that Lotus Exige that we had a few cars ago. Mid-engined.
Yeah, beautiful car on the color on this Alfa Romeo, and you can hear the turbo whistling on this car. Let's see what time that can do. So that's a 59.34.
Not a bad time as we move into the four-wheel drive Imprezas and Mitsubishis on the hill. James Dockery in his Subaru Impreza.
Yeah, tyres is pulling on that Subaru, but using all the power and the four-wheel drive traction to escape a museum and a lot of speed through the finish line.
Stephen Moore's the Mitsubishi that's following close behind, making brilliant turbo pops and bangs as it changes through the gears.
Yeah, Stephen very competitive in his previous run. Let's see what he can do on this one. Certainly using all the revs on that engine, and that's a 57.39.
So a little bit quicker than the Subaru before it, as we move into Ian Fido's Toyota Yaris. Now again, these are pretty much stock production cars straight out the showroom.
Yeah, great handling on those Yaris's, four-wheel drive, three-cylinder, and a 1600 turbo engine. As you can see, it looks like a very well-balanced car, and it looks very competitive in that class as well.
Not got the times yet to trouble the Subarus and Mitsubishis, but considering how basic the out of the showroom they are, that's a pretty impressive time as we look to the Evo 5 of Roy Stanley.
Yeah, very impressive car, that little Evo. You can hear the turbo whistling as he goes through, and he's going to go through the finish line in a 58.3 something.
We're moving on to some of these little sports production cars, the Caterhams and Westfields. As we said earlier, lightweight, high-powered. These things are always fun.
Yeah, great looking cars. On the whole, you can see the input of the driver of the steering wheel, and there should be a very quick time in a 60.02.
We have Ray Law in his Caterham. It's a super sprint model. Awful lot of models brought out by Caterham over the years. Pretty much the same, just with slightly different.
Yeah, Ray almost losing at the end of the straight, so locking his front wheels, but gathered it nonetheless, and it should still be a good run for him. Let's see what time. That's a 58.87.
Good run there. Sean Tom's up next. Caterham Superlight. Now these things, ultra lightweight and huge power. R400 means it had a 200 horsepower engine, but it only weighed half a ton, so that's 400 brake horsepower per ton power to weight ratio, which is what makes these things so quick.
Yeah, very impressive car, and a lot of commitment into museum. And it's a 60.55.
Steve Garner's Westfield up next as it shoots up Cedar Straight.
Yeah, Steve, the fastest in this category, posting a 57 in his previous run, so let's see what he can do on this run. That's a 56.66, so he's improved from his previous run, about 8/10, so yeah, I'll be pleased with that result.
Andrew Russell's little Ginetta's next, and it was really powering its way out of loggerheads and Fletcher's Dello down towards Triangle, slightly wobbling all over the place. Seems to have gathered together now as he heads up onto Cedar Straight, but really pushing.
Yeah, Andrew really pushing. You can see the body language of the car showing the speed. And that's a 60.88, so improvement from his previous run.
Roy Holder's Renault X85, this Clio-based super hot hatch really, on circuit now. Going up through the turns of Cedar Straight.
Yeah, next step is the French Armada of hot hatches going up the hill, and those Clio's lifting the wheel on the inside of a museum and using all the rev of the engine to go up the hill.
And we've gone from something much more recent to back to the old Peugeot 205 again. These little things have been setting some quick times considering their age. Shows the simple lightweight technology sometimes is better for you.
Yeah, very nimble car, great handling, and let's see what time they can post. 64.31, so a little bit quicker than that previous Clio.
And we have the Car 51, Michael Harriman's very nice Mark 1 Clio. These look very smart, these cars, and some of them with the big 2-litre engines, the Williams developed machines, were quick on the road, and this one, having been stripped out and modified for going up the hill, is a smart machine.
Yeah, very well developed car from Michael here, and always a competitive driver on the hill. Let's see what time he can post on this run. Just under 60 seconds, so 59.93.
A really nice run, but quickly being caught by Richard Summers' DJ File, which just shows how fast these single-seaters are in comparison.
Yeah, Richard not giving me time to catch my breath. He's already through the finish line.
49.13, very nice run there as Andy Coley in the Gould takes the track. Gould GR55 in silver with red, smart looking machine, nice sounding engine, very neat down at the bottom end through Triangle and up through Peepers. Really puts the power down onto Cedar Straight. With a 99 speed in the track.
Yeah, great sound from the engine of that car, and you can see the speed through the corners is very impressive, and through the finish line now.
At 50.37 is a good run for that machine.
Yeah, and that's the end of this batch, Alex. So I'm sending you back the cars now, so you'll see the Caterhams and the Westfield first, closely followed by probably the single-seaters as well.
So really impressed. Steve Garner in that Westfield is putting some good times in. Certainly a class of his group. Similarly, car 35, Roy Stanley's Mitsubishi seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, indeed. Roy posting the quickest time in that category, and if well, not the quickest time actually, the second quickest time. He's been bettered by Stephen Maud in the Evo 6, so a similar car.
Oh yes, yeah.
In a 57.39, so
almost a whole second.
Yes, almost an entire second down in that second run. So hopefully he can keep that tomorrow, and it will be a very competitive class between those two. Looking at the Caterhams, obviously some good improvement as well on that batch of cars. Steve Garner shaving almost 8/10 off his previous run.
150, Mark Honey's Peugeot was impressive up the hill as well. Considering its age, it beat the slightly newer shaped Clio in its time. That Peugeot, however, has been stripped out and I suspect doesn't weigh very much anymore, which will really help it fly through the corners.
Yeah, it's true that those cars, compared to newer and modern cars, don't have the same safety and passive safety that you would expect from today's car. I wouldn't want to be involved into a crash in one of those 205. Those A-pillars look quite thin, but they make for a great visibility out of those cars, which brings them a lot of charms as well.
I believe it's that one, but I don't know yet.
So I think that's all the cars back down in the paddock, which means another batch can line up ready to go in a few moments' time.
I believe we have to say hello to a few of our viewers on YouTube. Some are saying hello to Tom from France. Some are watching from Wales. Mike Rudge watching from Wales, just across the border, and Kenny from Northern Ireland, so on the other side.
Yeah, real international mix of people from near and far watching on YouTube, which is brilliant. Do tell everyone if you know people who are into hill climbing. I can't think of anything better than the live stream from places like Loton. That's a brilliant addition, I think, as we see Richard Jones on the hill right now in his Porsche 911, really pushing it. Beautiful car, that bright orange classic shape of the 911 car 52.
Yeah, so this is the modified series production cars with a 2-litre. I
think this is a brilliant car. The registration on the back says it all. It sort of spells special, if you skipped a little bit. But it's a lovely looking machine, really smart, well prepared car, and pretty quick as well.
Yeah, reaching 81 miles an hour at the end of the straight, and it's a classic shape, narrow body with a duct tape at the back, ducktail, sorry.
Possibly duct tape as well, holding something on somewhere.
Exactly, yes, and that's a very good run, a 60.04, so just above the minute here.
Followed by a brand new shape of Porsche 911, this very smart black and red sort of on the white there. This thing looks pretty impressive as well, and probably will end up being a little bit quicker, despite the added size and weight of the newer Porsches. They're so well engineered that they can't help but be fast.
Yeah, great sounding car as well on the hill today, and it's a very competitive car on the hill and on track as well, and it should be posting a really good time of 58.3 indeed.
So a couple of seconds quicker than the classic Porsche, which shows you what sort of 40 years of development can do. Only 2 seconds on the hill. Next up is the impressive Mark 1 Golf of Carl Stevens. This car really impressed me when I saw it in the paddock and on the hill as well.
Yeah, that car is on 3 wheels into a museum. A very quick car, as you can see, going through the finish line in 58.56, so just 2/10 down from that previous Porsche.
Now, we've had a bit of a spin. Richard Price's Caterham has missed his point going through keepers, so we'll have a slight pause whilst he sorts himself out. He's managing to keep the whole thing pointing in the right direction roughly, but I think we'll probably come back down towards the paddock just to clear the track off. which means we've had car 61 has had to abort that run and go around and join the tail of the field while we sort out what's going on. I think we may have lost one of the corner markers going through keepers, so the marshals will have to check those, make sure they're all still in place.
Keeping our great marshals here on track on their toes, as long as there is no damage to the car or to the driver.
No. Richard Price is absolutely fine, probably more embarrassed than anything else, having taken that corner going into keepers a bit quicker than perhaps is sensible, and clipped the corner barriers, left some tyre marks on the road, but other than that, didn't seem to be any issue whatsoever. So may even manage to get himself tacked onto the back of the line and get another go at that run.
Yeah, so I think this one will be a foul for him, unfortunately for Richard, but it's the pressure of the last run of the day, really.
So Marshall's just checking the track, making sure everything is clear and safe before they let the running continue. It shows how important practice is for these things. These little mistakes will not really matter today, because you can recover from them and go better tomorrow when it's timed runs and actually counts towards competition.
Yeah, and the racing in this class is always super competitive and exciting to watch as well. So hopefully we can get up and running very quickly. So Andrew should be able to get a rerun, as you said, at the back of the group.
We'll see whether he's allowed to join back on. He should have been able to abort that run and roll round. But next up we have Ash Mason, Westfield. Really quick off the line. Right way to those cars, giving it super acceleration. And a excellent chassis, getting a grip through the tight, twisty first section of the track. Powers down the hill towards Triangle. Nice and neat and tidy. A little bit of a slide on the exit, and then through up into keepers. Getting the power on, heading up onto the straight. This could potentially be a nice run for Ash.
Yeah, so flying through at the end of the Cedar Straight. A very nice line through Fallow into Museum. He used all the curb on the entry of that corner. A very nice line. It should be a very competitive time.
Yeah, really good run for Ash there, as Robin Nicholson in that Mallock hits the hill. These are amazing machines, these Mallocks. Well designed and developed, well engineered, and really nice speed from these Formula Libre cars.
Yeah, front engine car, those Mallock, and a very competitive car on the hill here at Loton, and I'll give you a time of 56.68.
It's a good run up the hill, as we see the Van Diemen of Rhys Jones. Again, mid-engine, sports type style car, slightly older machine now, but still able to do a good turn of speed.
Yeah, Rhys using all the curb on the entry of Fallow and keeping it nice and tidy. Out of Museum, a bit of a squill at the exit, but a tidy run nonetheless in a 58.56.
And then one of my favourite cars of the day, this Maguire Mini Cooper of Derek Castle, 1360 engine, super wide body, super low, and an awful lot of development work gone into this machine.
Yeah, almost looked like a red brick on the track, but a very quick car, as you can see. Very low to the ground, low center of gravity, and probably doesn't weigh that much.
Impressive 58-second run for him, as we see Martin Watts, Sylvia Riot Really unusual and rare car, this. Along the lines of the Caterhams and Westfields in its concept, perhaps, but slightly different take on a theme.
Yeah, 4-cylinder bike engine at the back, very nimble, and Martin is always a very competitive driver in that class.
We then have one of the Hayabusa-powered Caterhams. Now, putting bike engines in lightweight cars was a revelation when it was first done in the late 90s, and these machines have been popular ever since for just such a reason as this.
Yeah, Andrew in his rerun, so he'll be pushing really hard on here.
Really good run there, 50 seconds for that Caterham. As we move into some of the open-wheeled, this is Richard Walker's OMS. This is the 1 litre class of racing cars. But as we saw earlier, still able to put some really good times on the board.
Yeah, Richard using all the track here and the exit of museum. Really impressive run in a 51.97.
Next up is Gavin McLaren, another OMS, bright yellow machine. Slight difficulty getting out of triangle. Seemed like he wasn't sure whether to get on the power or not. Might affect his time. Keepers in just over 31 seconds, which is a bit slower than perhaps he would have liked.
Yeah, Gavin reaching out the speed of 97 miles an hour at the end of the straight here. And he should be going through the finish line in a 54.4 time.
Mark Sinclair's Gold Force is powering up the straight now. Nice run for Mark.
Yeah, very distinctive livery in this car, and a very tidy run so far, as you can see, into museum, using all the power and the rev of this engine. In a 51.77, so quickest so far.
Yeah, very good run, just beating Richard Walker there. Nigel picked next in his OMS. This is a smart-looking all-carbon fibre machine. Very good, well-developed machine by the look of it. And still hasn't got the smaller engine, but really pushing it. Goes through keepers up to 99 in the speed trap.
Yeah, you're right, Alex. Who needs paint when you've got carbon on show? And he's really pushing hard and keeping it nice and tidy. Loves the rev of the engine through the finish line, and that's a 52 seconds dead.
Next we have Clive Austin in his Empire race. Now remember he lost out on his run earlier, so he'll be looking to make amends. Very, very smart, jinking through the corners down here at Triangle. Car looks very, very grippy. Pushing hard out of keepers, up the hill. We'll see what it gets in the speed trap, 109, but can he hit his braking point?
Yes, he did, Alex. A little bit of a twitch from the car, but gathered it and lifting the right front wheel in museum. Very impressive run, and it's a
49.81, a brilliant run there for Clive Austin in that race. As Rob Clark's Empire Evo hits the hill next.
Yeah, Rob entering a fallow, using a curb on the entry, keeping it nice and tidy, and the exit of museum, using all the rev, going through the finish line, and then that's 51.28.
Next car through is Lindsay Summers, DJ Firehawk. Nice and neat through Triangle in a 112 machine. Good run out through the keepers, keeping it tidy. See if we can get the power on up through the straight. See what speeds, 83, bit down. perhaps on some of the other cars.
Yeah, Lindsay taking a steady approach to fallow, braking a little bit earlier, potentially than the other competitors, but still a quick run and a very exciting car to watch. It's a 52.17, so almost just a tenth down from the previous round.
Not far off Rob Clark's times or Nigel Pitt's times, so pretty close. Just Clive Austin in his Wraith clear ahead of that field. As we have the high-tech of Graham Williams. Interesting car, this. Interesting design of machine, and it's nice to see such a variety of race machinery in these classes. Everybody just going for the same make.
Yeah, Graham missing a little bit of his braking point and locking the wheel, but he's gathered it, just went off on the grass and is now back on track, so he'll be frustrated with that run. He'll probably put his boot in for the finish straight.
Able to keep it together though, even though he's had a partial spin there, which means that the track didn't need to be stopped, and the next runs can keep on going. Would have ruined his run, but everyone else, Graham's to keep going with Steve Morgan in the first of these Van Diemen Formula Fords.
Yeah, those cars are almost looking like spiders on the track, but very competitive cars. We'll get into the 60s and 59s hopefully. Let's see what Steve can do. 59.60.
Yeah, that's a good first run to set a benchmark for those Van Diemens. I'm really enjoying seeing some of these. I remember watching these on the racetracks all through my youth, so it's nice to see them out again, being pushed hard and showing that they're still pretty good cars despite their age. Now we'll have a bit of a break with a red flag as we need to clear up some of the track. So some amazing times there. I'm really impressed with the times of that Wraith going through there, 49.81, Clive Austin. So some impressive times being put up in this practice session.
Yeah, Clive was not hanging around. The first one into under 50 in his class, which is closely followed by Mark in his force, HC in a 51.77, but the times are falling down for every single drivers really, other than Graham losing it at the end of the straight, so pretty impressive runs. The track has nicely dried out, and the warm weather will be helping the grip levels, I suspect, slightly. It's not got too hot, but there's a bit of sun just to make the rubber a bit softer and grippier for a few of these runners. Yeah, those guys in the single seaters will be running the softer compound they can get their hands on, and so it will be Pirellis or maybe Avon tires. And they're really grippy tires. They're designed to go up the hill very quick, but not go the distance really. So those tires would probably disintegrate if you were to do several laps on them, because they are that soft that you just wouldn't be able to get many laps out of them. So just had a nice message on the YouTube live stream from our friend Jeff, who's away taking photographs at another event today, but will be coming up to Loton for the timed runs tomorrow on Sunday, which of course is an option for anybody who wishes to. Maybe not the viewers who are tuning in from Brazil and Texas. However, those slightly closer to Great Britain maybe might like to come up. Certainly if the weather's nice and sunny like it currently is. It's a lovely day out here, as well as all these brilliant cars on track. Yeah, I'm sure Geoff will be very happy with the work done today on the hill, with the grass cut everywhere. It certainly looks stunning here. So a little bit of a delay on the hill here. So it's going to be getting towards the end of the day, really. Didn't have too much delays. Sometimes we have some red flags where we need to clear the track, make sure that everyone is safe and can run safely. Keeping all the marshals here on the track today busy. We ought to give them a big thank you for being here. All of those guys are volunteers. Take that time for a few people here to enjoy themselves throughout this weekend.
So luckily I've just seen Jamie Chalmers roll past me. He'd had a bit of an off-track excursion which had sent the marshals to go and check on him. But other than a slightly missing nose cone and some grass shoved in his radiator, it doesn't seem to be too much worse the wear. So with any luck, Jamie will be able to get that car sorted and out again tomorrow. The best way to get over a spin like that is to get back on the horse, as it were, and go out and do it again, but better. So he'll be keen to retry, I would have thought, tomorrow. But that does mean that the track is starting to be cleared, all is well, and we'll be able to get going again before too long. Still got some of the course cars out on the hill, which is why we're still under red flag, but that won't take long to clear out. And we should have time, I'd have thought, to finish off the last few runs.
If you're at the bottom of the hill, it's probably a good timing as well to get to the ice cream van and have an ice cream from the van. I can see a few people here have made it to the top of the hill. Some are enjoying the sun. Some have decided to take the shady corners as well to enjoy the racing here.
Yes, or if ice cream's not your thing, I think the bar is probably still open. And that might be more to some people's taste, and I wouldn't be surprised, although I can only see the back of it, but the burger van probably has a few bits left. So if people are hungry, thirsty, or anything else, now's a good time to grab yourself some refreshment, and we'll have the last little bit of running in a little while from what has been a really good day here at Loton Park.
Yeah, we've definitely enjoyed the day. It's been a bit challenging condition this morning, just to keep the drivers on their toes. Some drivers has backed off in their runs, obviously. Nothing really counts today, but tomorrow is what counts, and it'll be very interesting to see what times we can get from those drivers. They've definitely been getting quicker and quicker throughout those runs, so they'll be putting their feet up at the end of today and getting ready for tomorrow.
Although it mustn't be forgotten, the Porsche GB had some timed runs today, and some of those were quite tricky because we had a rainstorm sort of halfway through their earlier session, which meant some got to run in dry, some got to run in rain, some got to run in standing water. So that really sort of threw about the times a bit there for them. But I think later on they were much more consistent in the dry weather of the afternoon.
Yeah, yes, you're right, Alex. And we're left with the quickest car for the end of today. I'm not sure if there's going to be a shootout for the quickest cars of today. I don't know if you can get this information, but maybe this will be for tomorrow. I don't know if there is a shootout for the Porsche Club, for example.
Not as far as I'm aware. I think all that we got left today was the final practice runs. So if we're able to get the track clear, we might have a few last practice runs before the end of today, but I don't think there's any more competition runs.
Yeah, that's right. No runner for today, so this will be tomorrow, where you'll get the Titan X top 10 runoff, which will be championship. So this will not include open wheelers or single seaters. Those cars will make it to the top 12 runoff tomorrow at the end of the day, which will be the 12 fastest cars of the day.
Whistles and waving flags, which means that the course is clear. So if there are cars left in the batches to run, we may well get them now. In the meantime, we had some lovely shots on the live stream of the circuit, bathed in sunlight, looking green and glorious. It's a beautiful spot here, right on the Welsh border, made even better by some brilliant racing cars. And first back up will be back in with the Van Diemen Formula Fords. Got the car 789 of Richard Weaver. Now should be remembered, these cars don't actually run on slick tyres as such. They have got a tread pattern on them, which means they're not quite as grippy as other single-seater open wheel race cars, and that's sort of the point of these. The idea is to learn your craft, learn how to control a car. Richard Weaver finding out how to lock up a bit as he dives down into triangle, but gathers it together as he then pushes up through keepers. Seems to have kept momentum going despite the slide down the hill, so won't have lost too much time there. 34 seconds up to keepers and 81 on the speed trap.
Yeah, decent run from Richard so far at the hill, and he's getting it all tidy through here, no dramas on his run, and he'll be posting a relatively quick time, I would say. From the look of it, it is 60.71.
Followed quickly by Trisha Davis in that brilliant Rainer. This has got to be one of my favourite cars of the day. Trisha really pushing hard up the hill, up to 92 at the speed trap. That's a good effort.
Yeah, Trisha not hanging around here in through the museum, pushing really hard and using all the power of the engine, and posting a 51.97.
It's a nice run. I wonder whether they've tried to use their traction control with the slippy conditions earlier, or whether they've stuck it out with the good old-fashioned right foot method.
Probably the right old-fashioned way, I would say. So I believe this will be potentially the end of this batch. So I'll be sending you back some cars down the hill, Alex. I believe they will be with you in a few seconds. So this will be the end of this batch until we move on to the single-seaters. So we'll be moving on to the slightly higher capacity engine single-seaters from 1600 to 2 litres.
We may well have jumped straight to that as Anthony Hunt's on the line. Car 815, his Gould DJ 55 has set off. Maybe they're trying to squeeze a few in because of that delay. Nice start for Anthony. Really powering down the slight dip into triangle. And up through keepers. See the orange flash on the rear wing. That's fuel as the diffuser sparks off the ground.
Yeah, Anthony posted a 49.7 on his previous run, so let's see what he can do on this final run of the day. That's a 49.32, so almost 4 tenths down.
It's a pretty quick run. Bernard Keevel's next is OMS. These slightly bigger engine machines in the right conditions can put some very fast times as they go through up the hill. Nice and tidy through keepers onto the straight, getting the power down, not bouncing off the ground quite so much.
Yeah, 101 miles an hour at the end of the Cedar Straight. He's using all the track on the exit of Fallow, and he's going to put his foot down for the final straight. And that's a 50.84.
Slightly higher top speed, it's a slightly slower overall run. As we see Mark Coley line up. R116. Slightly bogged down off the line, then took a big chunk of corner to try and make up a bit of time. Pushing the track limits there. Powering down. Car seems a little bit squirmy. Maybe not the neatest of runs, but sometimes it can be deceptive and there can be speed in there. Goes up through keepers. You can see the straight towards the speed trap.
Yeah, 90 miles an hour at the end of the straight, so relatively good speed for that car, using all of the track on the exit of Museum and the power of the engine. Let's see what time we can get. A 51.99. So a consistent run from Mark. He posted a 51.93 just before. And that's the end of this batch, Alex. So I'm definitely sending you more cars now this time. So you'll get to see that Mallock coming down the hill, and there's some really exciting cars in that group here that you'll get to enjoy in front of you.
Oh, because that slight delay we had, I've actually forgotten what went up earlier, so it'll be interesting to see as they come back down. Remind myself on what we saw.
Don't draw too much on the Formula Fords. So you'll get to see Trisha, who's going to go hand over the car to her husband, Terry. She's slowly rolling down the hill now, using the natural gravity to get down the hill and saving some fuel. You can't blame her. The price of fuel at the moment, when you can save, you should do it.
So over on YouTube, we have Stephen Williams has been watching the TT, Le Mans and us here at Loton, and is asking, is there such a thing as a motorsport overload? I'm not convinced there is. What you might find is you run out of screens to watch things on, however, because there's also touring cars from Loton Park this weekend, so you could squeeze in that as well, perhaps, if you've got yet another device to tune in on.
Yeah, we are a little bit spoiled this weekend, but yeah, it's hopefully you'll get to enjoy Loton more than the rest. And thanks for tuning up and to get to see some great action from a sport that needs to be more recognised, I think, for what it is, and just the sheer diversity that you get to see in just one day, really.
That's right, and we're slightly spoilt, as has been pointed out again on over on YouTube. Dave Parr has noticed that we're getting an extra round of practice runs in, partially due to we've got some non-starters this weekend, and just the size of the field and everything means that we're able to run that extra fourth round of practice runs, which is brilliant for the competitors, because track time when you're doing 1 minute runs obviously isn't as much as you might hope, but getting an extra round in means just extra value for money for all the competitors.
Yeah, it's fair to say that any time behind the wheel is super valuable for those guys. Maybe if you want to get more times behind the wheel, those guys should have picked maybe rallying, where you just get to sat in the car from the early hours of the morning until late in the afternoon. And
yes, or endurance racing. Your track time at Le Mans is quite high.
true, and you get to have a few naps in between. Or at least you try to.
So I'll be doing the similar tomorrow. I'll be trying to tune into Le Mans somehow and loading up Loton on another device and watching the touring cars if I can manage it too. As today, myself, Alex, and Benoit have been commentating, but tomorrow there's a different set of commentators in these booths. We have the two Jeffs, I think, are in tomorrow. Two Owens, sorry. Two Owens are in tomorrow, yes, my mistake. So they'll be regaling you with their wisdom and knowledge of something.
Plenty of banter, I would say, tomorrow between the two Owens.
All right, so whistles and flags means that the cars have returned to the paddock and the track is thought to be clear. So we'll see what we have in the next batch of vehicles. We're going to start with car 84, Carol Nichols. One of these slightly more classic style of single-seaters. The Nike Mark IV 1600.
Yeah, slightly older cars than the Van Diemen that we've seen in the previous match.
Yeah, it's got that pretty classic sort of cigar-shaped look. Echoes of the great drivers of the past who drove those sorts of things. Open face helmet and goggles as well on that one, which is brilliant to see. Carol Nichols really leaning into the vintage style.
Yeah, Carol likes to keep it period correct, as you would say, and it's great to see her on the hill today. She's a regular competitor here, and she was now entering fallow, keeping it nice and tidy, going into museum. Very low down in that car. Great driving position with your body almost leaning on the floor.
And Carol is Les Buck in Pringit Mistral, which I'm not really familiar with that make of before, but interesting to see some slightly less common vehicles out on the hill.
Yeah, Les posting a 60.88.
And then Tom Morgan squealing tyres into triangle in his 89 Van Diemen. Slowly creeping forward in time with these designs. Probably see times tumble slightly as a result.
Yeah, the brightly coloured helmet you can't miss. Tom in that car is using all the power of the engine to go through the finish line in a 60.36.
Tom Weaver following behind Tom Morgan. Tom Weaver just again locking up slightly into triangle. Van Diemen Formula Ford once more. Slightly quicker once again.
Yeah, Tom Weaver reaching the speed of 88 miles an hour in that car at the end of the Cedar Straight. And it's a 56.85, a very good time.
Now with the wings and slicks coming out, Gary Hill's OMS should be faster still. 56 seconds wasn't bad for Tom Weaver, but I suspect this car will be slightly faster as Gary comes up past you in the top box.
Yeah, Gary exiting museum like he's stolen this car in a very quick running lead of 50.63.
Alright, John Stockley's fourth next. Car number 93. Up through keepers and onto the straight.
Yeah, John entering fallow dark car, swiggling a little bit under him, using all the power of the engine.
These are the racing cars of 11 to 1600 cc's. As we see car 96 really struggling under braking and acceleration out of triangle. That's Darren Gumbley's force. Suspension seems to be cracked all the way to hard on this, and so every bump and every jolt going through the car.
Yeah, great speed from the end of that, at the end of the straight from Darren. Very impressive car to look at, popping and banging through the finish line, and that's a 46.49.
Yeah, really good run of 46 there for Darren. We've got a bit of a red flag, so we'll have a slight pause now. But now impressed by Darren's run there, as 46 seconds. He was really fighting that car. Setup was super aggressive by the look of it, but it seemed to be working for him.
Yeah, that car seems to be working brilliantly on the hill today. As you can see, he's running methanol, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's well over 300 horsepower from this 1600 cc engine.
And 46.49 for him is a really respectable time just in general, let alone for his class. That's got to be up there with some of the best that we've seen today.
Yeah, Darren definitely a contender for tomorrow's shootout. Looking at his time today, posting a 46.72 on his run, so he'll be pleased with shaving 3 tenths on that run, really. So yeah, some impressive times.
It does set things up for some quick runs tomorrow if conditions are similar. Might be able to see some nice fast times on the hill.
Yeah, that's right, Alex, and we're not far off from the actual class record in this category, which is a 44.75. The outright hill record is a 41.91 here at Loton. And this was a time they posted actually on the last round of the HillClimb Championship last year at the end of September.
Yes, conditions can affect times so greatly. Although you don't want it too cold, it can also be too hot at times, and your engine starts to lose power and you start to bog down a bit. So just getting the right level of temperature in the tyres, but nice, cool, dense air is critical for some of these real record-breaking runs.
Yeah, Wallace earlier this season, I think posted a 45 seconds run, and I think he was just cruising. It was probably a shakedown for him in his very beautiful Gold GR 59. So many of those cars that you'll see on the course are purposefully built for HillClimb here in the UK. Some people have done it for many years, and they keep improving them over the time. They are bespokely built for each drivers as well, so it's not easy for another driver to jump into those cars if you can't fit in them.
Well, the good news is that car 100, Michael Tregoning, although he's had a slight moment on the grass is out of the car. The car looks mostly in shape, as does the driver. So they're just clearing that up, pushing the car back onto the tarmac so it can be cleared out of the way. So good news, no major issues, just a bit of a slight delay. Luckily, due to the slightly lower numbers of runners and the fact that we had such an efficient earlier morning, means that we've got time to cope with a few little incidents like this.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the class record as well from the Formula Fords. We actually have improved on that class record. So Tom Weaver has bettered it by almost a tenth, posting is 56.85. So bettering the class record of 56.98 seconds, which was a record that was posted in 2017.
That's very interesting. Now, what I don't know is, do practice times count as official class records, or is it only in competition?
I think he'll be only competition time runs.
So although he's beaten that time, it won't go into the record books just yet.
Just yet. Let's hope he can. Let's hope he can do the same tomorrow, if not improve it.
So the question is that more or less frustrating to have beaten the time but not allowed to change the books, or to not get the time in the first place?
We'll see. He'll probably have a beer and a cigar tonight.
I'm sure he'll cope with the disappointment anyway. But that's very good. Obviously, those Van Diemen's, some of them were looking very smart as they ran up the hill, and that's being borne out by some of the times that those cars were putting in, and getting close to that. Well, the record 56.98, so almost 57 seconds. Several of them were knocking around that time, which is pretty impressive. Right, so Michael Tregoning has just passed me back down to the paddock. So he and Carr are all right, both in one piece, which means hopefully he can sort whatever issues are out ready for tomorrow and manage to get the timed runs in. And that means that course cars are coming back and the marshals will finish their tidy up, and we might well get running again in a few moments' time.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a very good day. We didn't have any issues with the wildlife that we tend to see here at Loton Park here. I can't see any of the deers. They usually like to hang around the finish line and onto the almost double 90 degrees runway back after the finish line. So those Days I've probably been watching the start of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, I think I would say, or been doing something else.
Yes, yeah, with so much motorsport on, I suspect even the deer can't decide which way to look.
But yeah, I'm looking at red kites as well, enjoying the very windy and breezy weather, just flowing around and floating in the air as well. So it's a great bird sight seeing here from the top of the hill. Is there any photographers around you? I've seen a few today.
Yes, there's been a couple wandering up and down the hill, following the path, which means that it's worth taking a walk along the edge of the track. You do get to see most of it as you pass up. We now have Terry Davies on track in that brilliant Reynard with its Yamaha V8. He's first to get things going again. Seems to have exploded out the box as though impatient to get going. So obviously that sit waiting for things to run has left him keen to go. Very quick start to the run, managing to get to the 64 mark in 2 seconds flat, powering up onto Cedar Straight and hitting 93 at the speed traps.
Yeah, anything in the 2 second of the mark is always a great timing, and Terry's looking really nice and tidy through Museum. Should be a good run in a 50.84.
Tim Elmer following hard and heels. Lara F399. This is a sorted machine really, and another quick run, getting onto the straight and another 89 mile an hour in the trap.
Yeah, a very elegant car on the track today, and he's probably going to be right on the 50.14.
Very close times there. Jonathan Varley coming through next. His GWR Predator. These cars seem very evenly matched, cars and drivers. We'll see some pretty close running from these. Much faster on the straight, 133.
Yeah, John pushing really hard, and he's going to post a cracking time, I would say, at the end of this run. That's a 46.22, so 4 tenths down from the previous run.
That's still a good run, nice time in general. And then have Kelvin Broad in his fourth.
Yeah, John.
This is the forced induction engine cars, so slightly more power, similar chassis. Theoretically should be faster up the straight, 111 in the speed trap.
Yeah, very impressive. Engine popping and banging, and a lot of power from the supercharged engine. It's a 48.55.
That run by Jonathan Varley, 46.22, is another slightly beating the class record. So some really quick times this afternoon, as we see Simon Moyes really pushing hard, clipping the corners up the straight.
Yeah, Simon pushing really hard, but understeering at the exit of Museum, so probably lost a bit of time there. But it's still at 47.50.
Car 109, Ian Tucker, whole car shaking as he breaks down into triangle, really hard on those brakes, pushing hard up onto the straight. It seems to have backed off a little bit, maybe just hasn't got quite the same momentum.
Yeah, Jan braking a little bit earlier than previous drivers, but still going to post a quick time using all the power through the finish line, and that's a 54.93.
And we have Paul Cruton, his Jaguar replica. It's a Jaguar powered replica Formula 1 paint scheme.
Yeah, Jaguar V6 at the back of this car. A very elegant car on the hill, great livery, and always a competitive runner here. So Paul posting a 53.89.
Car 115 there, Terry Graves in that Gould. Another very quick machine this, with a quick drive behind the wheel. Practice, I think some of these guys are using these runs to try out some different ideas, different lines, different runs, that sort of thing, so maybe not chasing outright times, or just using them to gather information.
Yeah, 50.42 for Terry here.
Simon Andrews next, OMS. In car 114.
Yeah, Simon late on the brake at the end of the Cedar Straight here. using all the power of that engine at the exit of museum, and it will be through the finish line in a 48.95.
That's one of the quicker runs in this group so far. Car 816 is Coley, Gould GR55. This is one of those machines that's been designed for hill climbing. Litre engine in this, so it's lightweight, it's got slicks, it's got wings, it's got power from that engine, and it's cutting the corners slightly as it powers up the hill.
Yeah, the engine popping and banging on this Gould, a very distinctive car on the hill here, and a lot of power.
Codsworth engine in that machine, which is a name synonymous with racing performance. And a 49.61 time, which is respectable.
Right, Alex, this is the end of this batch, so I am sending you more cars towards you. But
we had a few quick runs there. Jonathan Varley down in the 46-second area. That's one of the quicker runs.
Yeah, some impressive times in that batch here. As you were saying, John has actually posted a record class beating time with a 46.22, so almost 3/10 down on his previous record, which is a 46.58, which he posted back in 2012, so almost 10 years ago to the date.
Oh, very good. Just going back through some of the times from today, and I think 46.22 might be the fastest run of the day in total.
Yes, you're right, Alex. I was looking through my timesheet, and it's definitely the quickest time of the day, with Darren doing a 46.49, I think, in second place.
So although today doesn't actually count for anything officially, quickest time of the day has got to feel good when you go to bed at night, I suppose.
Yeah, it's certainly a nice thing to rest on, I would say. But yeah, it's a very impressive time from John again. So I think we're not done for the day. So there's going to be another batch of cars, which is going to be batch 6, which will be the very last run, I would say, for those guys. So starting with probably the Brabham and the Loton Park Championship, the Volkswagen Loton Park Championship. And I believe it will be the time runs for those guys in the Loton Park Championships, and these guys are actually running to handicap, which I believe is a time that is set by the organization that you have to reach. So you're competing against yourself, not against the competitors in that championship, and the closer that you get to that time, the more points you get. And those handicaps are made to push drivers to go quicker and quicker. So some drivers might be holding a little bit on their second practice run in the morning, but they should be pushing quite hard in their last run to make sure that they get as close as possible to this handicap time that is individual to each car and competitor.
This is the only way that championship can really be run. When you look at the variety of the entrants, everything from those classic Austin and Alfa Romeo saloon cars through to the modern hot hatches and that sort of thing, they couldn't ever compete on equal terms. So a handicap system is the only way really that they could operate such a diverse mix of entrants.
Yeah, you're right, Alex, and a number of competitors also on this class are also looking to upgrade maybe to faster and quicker kit next year. So the way that class and racing licenses work is you have to prove yourself in the previous class and the lower license grade, if I can say so. So car, for example, is aiming to get this national license A, which will allow him to run into the Midland Hillclimb Championship and take part in the full championship instead of the Loton Park Championship. So a great championship here to get involved into the sport, improve your racing craft, and get familiar with the sport.
So on the line now we have that Brabham BT21 of Martin Jones, who'll be kicking off what we think is the last batch. Lovely little car, this classic styling of the 60s, those cigar-shaped single-seaters. Martin pushing his way down, throwing it into triangle, really giving it something on this last run. As he works his way up nicely through keepers onto Cedar Straight. Now they only have a small 1600 engine, which doesn't have huge power, but still 84 in the speed trap is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's 41 46 at the end of the Cedar Straight, and going into Museum, really pushing the car. It should be a really good run in a 58.11, so 5/10 down from his previous run.
That's nice getting under the minute, just for your own sake. As we see Dave Newell's Austin 840, chatting with Dave in the paddock earlier and saying how these cars, despite their rather pedestrian start to life, had a really good competition history with British saloon car as it was then, or touring car as we call it now, championship victories and top names, even people like Frank Williams getting their start in cars like this.
Yeah, and a very elegant car to watch on the hill here. A nice set of wheels on this Austin, and Dave always a consistent driver here, and this little 1100cc car making 45 horsepower and posting at 82.19, almost a second down.
And then the 1600 engine 1300 car, Alfa Romeo, is next up.
Yeah, Michael going through Museum at a steady pace. Doesn't look like the engine is sounding right.
Next we have George Gwilliam, and he's really pushing it, clipping the cones on the corner of keepers, but keeps going, pushing up the straight. He's only got a small engine, so his top speed's not really as high as perhaps it could be.
Yeah, George trying really hard and going wide on the exit of Farlow. It's his last run, so he really wants to do his best. And now he's going through the finish line. Let's see if he can improve on his time. A 73.76.
Andrew Feakin's Renault Clio is next up, and slightly quicker in the speed trap. Cocking a wheel though through the corners.
Yeah, the Clio is always on three wheels in Museum. Let's see what time we can get. That's a 69.77.
Meanwhile, Carl Beeman's on really pushing in his highly modified Renault Clio. Went through triangle, really pushing the tyres to their extreme and powering at 83 through the speed trap.
Yeah, Carl trying really hard, using all the track on the exit of Fallow, maximising his exit speed, and then using all the power of the four-cylinder here to go through the finish line in a 60.75, a very good time.
Nice time there, as we have catching up on some of the other runners. Alex Coles van Diemen out on on circuit. Carl being one of the quickest of the Loton Park Championship runners there, I think, in his Clio.
Yeah, Alex, a very competitive driver in that class. Always posting top times in that class, and that's a 59.85, which is slightly slower than his previous run.
Not a bad time though in itself, as Alex Coles rounds off that batch and possibly the running for the day.
Yes, Alex, I think this is the end of the day for us today. So you'll get to see the last few cars going down the hill. It's a great opportunity to thank everyone here at Loton Park, marshals, officials, all of the rescue and safety crew. They've been giving up their time for that day, and everyone. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. We made it to the hill, and everyone who has been enjoying the live stream. We'll be back tomorrow with racing day. There'll be a different team. It'll be Owen and Owen behind the mic, and those two will take you through the day on Sunday. Thank you from me at the top of the hill.
Yes, and thank you from me, Alex Burnham, down here in the Triangle commentary booth. I'd just like to echo thank you to all of the people here at Loton for another wonderful running and hopefully a brilliant Sunday ahead.
Thank you, everyone.